Hi guys, this is my work truck. It's a 95 Chevy 2500 Silverado, I guess, with 6.5 liter turbo diesel in it. It's running and starting on 100% Veggie oil and I'm gonna show you the what the conversion looks like. So a little bit about the truck first. This is my collection vehicle. Okay, I use this to collect the Veggie. There is a 275 gallon tote up there, and that's the collection pump. That's a 7 to 9 gallons per minute collection pump. I made it myself with 30-foot hose, 1-inch hose. As you can see, I got the toolboxes and the rack. Nice wheels, chrome wheels. So here's what the engine looks like. I made everything nice and different colors so it's easier to see what's going on here. I had this engine out because I broke a crankshaft on it. Now it had nothing to do with the Veggie, I know that. What the problem was is that the harmonic balancer lost a piece of rubber out of it, and it was pushing the engine out of balance, and eventually it broke the crankshaft. So I had this engine out. I was working on it for like 2 weeks and it's got a new used crankshaft and new bearings in it. All the pistons and the rings are still good. Actually, I think this is like less than 100,000 mile motor. I can't be sure, but the cylinders still have the cross hatching on it, so that's gotta be a barely broken in motor. So anyway, there is the heatsink for the PMD. Just show you quickly what the engine looks like. Everything is nicely painted. There is the filter. Okay, so that's the coolant heat exchanger. That's the heated filter. It's a 10-inch standard 5 micron water filter with a high temperature housing, and it does very good with the Veggie. That's where the Veggie comes through. Nice and gold color. Okay. Now, if you can see the two pump heaters, those red blocks, those are the pump heaters. See, 1, 2, and the left side has 2 glow plugs in it. The right side has 3 glow plugs in it, and that gives it about 750 watt heating capacity. And what I'm doing with this conversion is that I am heating up the whole pump before starting, and it takes about 2 to 5 minutes depending on outside temperature, and it gets the heaters get the pump up to 100 degrees, and then I have a light on the inside that tells me that the pump is 100 degrees, and then I start the engine. And believe it or not, this technique lowers the starting condition by about 20 degrees. So whereas before I was able to start this engine 100% Veggie at 40 degrees, now I can start the engine with 100% Veggie at 20 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's pretty damn good. you know, in California you don't need anything more than that. But if it gets colder than that, then what you do is you put about 20% diesel in the tank, same tank, you know, one tank system here, and the diesel will lower the starting condition even more. So, but you don't have to do that in California. It's never necessary. I never did that yet, and I've been through the winter just now. So anyway, there are two deep cycle batteries that run those heaters, and each of these batteries are about 100 amp hours, so that's 200 amp hours, and it has no problem running the heaters for about 5 even to 10 minutes sometimes. It can run it, and then you can still start the engine, no problem. Okay, so this valve here, as you can see, there is a little trick here. There is a cross fitting, and the Veggie is coming in here and it going into the pump that way, and then this one is for the fuel pressure gauge inside the cabin. And this way, this valve, when I open the valve, then the Veggie can go back to the tank. And I use this after when I'm changing the filter. When I'm changing the filter back there, that big filter housing is completely empty of fuel, right? So I need to fill it up with fuel and then bleed the system and send all the air back to the tank. So I'm not messing up the engine, I'm not polluting the environment, I'm not, you know, messing up the concrete by letting fuel drip down or anything. Okay, when I open this valve, the fuel goes straight back to the tank. All the air bubbles and the fuel, the Veggie oil, everything goes back to the tank, and there is no mess. Okay, and when I have a transparent line here, as you can see the Veggie in there, and when I'm bleeding the system, you can see the bubbles going back. So when you see no bubbles anymore, that means your system is all the way bled through, and then you can close that valve and the engine is ready to start, and there is no mess whatsoever. Okay, I don't know why big companies can't think of something like this. The original system on this engine used to be back there, and when you were bleeding the filter housing, you would be wasting fuel, and it would be dripping on the floor, dripping on the engine, and you had to bleed it for like several minutes before you get all the air out of it, and the whole thing was just a big mess. So there you have it, very straightforward, just one ball valve, and it's doing the job. Okay, so those are my relay packs. Those 4 relays are controlling the 2 heaters, and I need 4 relays because what's happening is when I'm starting the engine, then one of the relay turns off both of the heaters, so I'm not using that much amperage for starting. Okay, so that's a safety, or you know, it takes it easier on the starter, because the 2 heaters draw about 90 amps when they are on, so you don't want that slowing your engine down when you're starting. Okay, so that's up here in the engine compartment. The fuel pump, the lift pump, as you can see, or maybe you can't see, the lift pump is a SureFlow, a diaphragm SureFlow pump, which can do about 1.5–2 gallons per minute, and it can do 60 psi, but I'm not doing 60 psi with it. I am using a bypass valve here. Come on. Yeah, so you can see the bypass valve, which lets the fuel go around and back into the suction side. And with the ball valve you can regulate the pressure, what goes up to the engine. And I'm only sending about 15 psi up to the engine. But actually it's nice to have the extra capacity on the lift pump, because when it's really cold outside, the Veggie gets really thick, and that pump is capable of pushing cold Veggie, even down to 20 degrees or even lower than that. That pump will not, you know, will not give you any trouble, because it can do up to 60 psi. So bringing 15 psi up to the engine, that pump doesn't even get warm, and it pushes Veggie no problem. I never had any problem with those pumps. I used about 6 or 7 of them already on different trucks, different conversions, and I tell you guys, those are the best pumps to use as a lift pump. They never fail. Okay, so what else can I tell you about this? Yeah. So basically I think that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. Very straightforward conversion, one tank system, starts and runs on 100% Veggie. I don't use a single drop of diesel ever. I don't give my money to the murderers, the slave drivers, the oil companies, and the politicians, you know, in road taxes, taking your money. So this is one way to beat the system. Okay, that's the PMD. Yeah, so as you can see, the PMD is on right next to the intake plenum, and the heater block is where the PMD used to be. So the heater block on the right side is making contact with the pump on a very large surface, and it never gets overheated. You know, all the heat is transferred to the pump. I never lost a glow plug from the heater blocks, because those big blocks, they keep the glow plugs so cool that they don't have time to overheat, or they don't have you know, they just cannot raise the temperature of the block and the pump to the point where they would blow. Okay, I lost like 10-15 glow plugs from this engine already in just 1 year, and I never lost one from the heater blocks. And the heater blocks, they go continuously. The one on the right side sometimes goes for 15 minutes continuously, and I never lost a glow plug. The one on the left side is smaller, and it doesn't have a big contact area with the pump, so I'm turning that block off at 100 degrees, after which it would just be too hot. So I'm turning that one off first, and I'm leaving the one on the right side on for about 15 minutes. The one on the right side left side goes for about 5 minutes, and like I said, they have no problem running continuously. Alright, well, that's all I have, and you know, this is my work truck, this is my collection truck, and it does the job. Have a nice one. Happy veggieing.